Okay, imaginary numbers and simplifying radicals. Now, we did some simplifying radicals in Unit 1, so we had a little bit of struggle there, but I think we got through it. If there is a negative under the radical, it creates an imaginary number. Okay, here are the top 4 things that you should have done in Algebra 2. This is an Algebra 2 concept, okay? I equals, when you have that negative, you pull out an I. Do you remember that? If you have a negative under the square root, you pull out an I. If you have I squared, it equals -1. If you have I cubed, it equals -I. And I to the 4th equals +1. Okay? Because if I go from square to 4, I'm squaring the square, right? So if I square a -1, it gives me a +1. Okay? Now, these are just a reminder. You're not going to be tested over this part right here. The thing you have to know is this simplifying the radical and the square root of a negative is I. Okay? But I just wanted to remind you this because if you ever use imaginary numbers in your future math classes, this is what you need to know. All right, so if I take the square root of 4, what is the square root of 4? Square root of 4? 2. And then since it's negative, it will be 2I. Does that make sense? All right, square root of 16 is 4. And since it's negative, it is a I. Good? All right. Is 32 a perfect square? No. So I have to break it down using the largest perfect square that'll go into 32. So what is the 4 will go, but was there a number bigger? 6 isn't a perfect square. Perfect squares. Huh? 5's a perfect square? Okay, let's talk about perfect squares. Remember perfect square. 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 3 is 9. 4 times 4 is 16. So what's another number that'll go into 32?
16.
Thank you. So we have the square root of 16, square root of 2, and of course we have -1 in there. Don't want to forget the negative. Okay, good there? So what's the square root of 16? 4. And then this -1 gives me an I, and then I can't take the square root of 2. This, you multiply. 4I squared root of 2. Does that make sense? Everybody good there? Okay. So, if we use this little thing up here, what is I squared equal to? -1. And I cubed is equal to?
Okay. On that one, is the -I or the negative square root of -1, is either one of those an option?
No, -I would be your final answer. It's showing you why it's -I. Okay, and I to the 4th is 1. Okay, so let's look at the quadratic formula. Okay, I'm going to be corny. First of all, if you can't remember this, you have to remember this. I will not give it to you in your test. Second of all, there is a song on YouTube. I don't sing, so I don't do songs. So I'm going to tell you how I remember it when I first learned it. This teacher told me this, so it's very corny. And sorry, boys. Since it's a B, we have to use boys, okay? A bad boy, because it's negative, okay? A bad boy couldn't decide, that's the plus and minus, whether to B square and stay out to 4 a.m. Wait a minute, go out with 4 awesome chicks and stay out to 2 a.m. Let me do that again. A bad boy couldn't decide whether to B squared and go out with 4 awesome chicks and stay out to 2 a.m. I know, it's corny. I told you ahead of time it was corny. Okay, so how do we use the quadratic formula? Make sure all the terms are on one side. So make sure it's equal to 0. Your A always should be positive, right? Because then when you're factoring and stuff. Identify A, B, and C, plug in, simplify, make sure the radical's in the simplest form. All right, so it's equal to 0, so what is my A here?
1.
And my B?
8.
And my C? 12. Now, most students have no problem doing and plugging in. It's the simplifying, okay? So we're going to plug it into this over here. So we have negative b. So since it's positive 8, it's going to be negative 8 plus or minus b squared minus 4 times a times c over 2 times a. Does everybody understand? I just plug these numbers into that formula, but if I don't know that formula, I can't plug them in. Yes? So we're going to learn that tonight? Yes? Everybody, if you don't know it, you're going to learn it tonight? All right. Everybody good? Anybody behind? All right, so we have negative 8 plus or minus 8 squared is 64. 4 times 1 is 4 times 12 is 48 over 2. All right, good there? Anybody lost? Awesome. In my next class, we'll be lost at this point. All right, negative 8 plus or minus, what's 64 minus 48?
16.
16 over 2. We good? Keep on going. What's the square root of 16? 4 over 2. And then, what does this plus or minus mean?
Addition or subtraction.
So one time I'm going to add, the next time I'm going to subtract. So this is going to give me my 2 x-intercepts. Does everybody understand that's what we're solving for here? All right, so we're going to have negative 8 plus 4 over 2 and negative 8 minus 4 over 2. Does everybody understand? It's 2 separate problems into one. What's negative 8 plus 4? Negative 4 divided by 2. And then negative 8 minus 4? 12 divided by 2. So in this case, x equals negative 2 and negative 6. So I know if I were to graph this, the x-intercepts would be at negative 2 and negative 6. Does everybody understand what I just solved for and what happened? Good? All right, let's look at another one. Okay, in this one, it's equal to 0. What's my A? What's my B? And my C? Okay, everybody good there? All right, so we have, since it's a negative 12, it would be negative 12. Does everybody understand that would make it positive? Plus or minus. So we definitely have to watch our negatives in this case. I know some of you throw negatives around like they're pennies. Over 2 times 2. Now I do want to caution you not to put that entire thing into your calculator, because a lot of times you will mess it. I would actually do it step by step like we're doing here, because that's the one thing. A lot of students set it up correctly, but then when they get the answer, it's wrong because they try to do everything in their calculator at once. Okay? All right, so we're going to get positive 12 plus or minus the square. 12 squared is 144. 4 times 2 is 8 times 18 is 144 over 4. Everybody good there? Anybody lost? Okay. So then that's going to equal, what's 144 minus 144? And square root of 0 is? 0. So there's not plus or minus 0, right? It's just nothing there, okay? And then divide by 4. So what is 12 divided by 4? 3. So in this case, x equals 3. This will touch the x-intercept one time. So the discriminant in this case is equal to 0. Do you notice what's underneath the square root is the discriminant? Does everybody understand that? Okay. This last one, what do I have to do first? Make it equal to 0. Very good. So we're going to subtract 6x. So we get 9x squared minus 6x minus 11 equals 0. And then my A is, my B is, and my C is negative 11. Everybody good? CJ, you good? Awesome. Just waking up still? Y'all look tired this morning. All right, so negative 6 would be a positive 6 plus or minus negative 6 squared minus 4. My pen don't want to work this morning. Times 9 times negative 11 divided by 2 times 9. Good? All right. So that's going to give me 6 plus or minus 6 squared is 36. 4 times 9 is 36 times negative 11 is positive. 44 times 9, 36. Anybody? 44 minus 6. 396?
Yeah.
Thank you. Over 18. Good there? All right. 6 plus or minus 36 plus 396 is 432 over 18. All right, here's the fun part. We get to simplify 432 using the perfect square. Now, if you don't know what that perfect square is, you can always start with 4 because 4 could possibly go into there. So, will 4 go into 432? How many times?
108.
108. Okay, so I'm working this over here. Does everybody see? I'm just putting this over here so I'll have room. So 108. I bet 108 still has a perfect square, right? So can anybody, will 4 go into 108?
27.
Huh?
27 times.
27 times. Does everybody see what I'm doing? I'm slowly breaking down this 432. All right, does 27 have a perfect square? 3 is not a perfect square. 9. Remember, perfect squares, I know what you were thinking. You were thinking the square root of 9. So that would be 9 and 3. Does everybody understand what I did there?
What you?
Okay, what's the square root of 4?
2.
What's the square root of 4?
2.
What's the square root of 9? 2 times 2 is? Times 3 is? 12. So this will be 6 plus or minus 12 square root of 3. So the biggest square root that would have went into 432 is 144. Because I know 12 times 12 is 144. All right, over 18. Everybody good? Yes.
When you broke that down, there's only... Oh,
You good?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, will anything go into 6, 12, and 18? 6. So I can take a 6 out of the top, factor out a 6, and that'll leave me 1 plus or minus 2 square root of 3 over 18. And then 6 will go into 18 3 times. So my final answer, and you can leave it like this in my class because I don't care if you write it as 2, would be that. So that's a 3 on the bottom. Just a word of caution, if this 6 would not go into all 3, you could not just simplify this 6 and 18. It has to go into all 3 terms. Okay? Let me